Welcome to the episode of Korbin Albert Soccer Podcast for us, by us. Talking about intersection of black culture and soccer. Got your boy here, Grego here. Got my homie, my Mello, my mean Mark. What's going on with you, dog?
What's good, man? What's good? Seeing you technically for the second week in a row.
Yeah. It's been a lot going on these past few weeks in the A, and definitely want to hit up on that. We got a special episode for you guys today, and got something that honestly, just by our dumb luck and just by the stuff that we do through our homies and peers online, you know, we have sometimes the stuff that we do happens to catch the attention of some people, and it just so happened that, like, back in February, I'm sure at least some of y'all probably noticed we participated in a Black History League draft coordinated by our homies out in LA. Shout out to Comments SC. They're one of the newest supporter groups to the LA Galaxy scene. Black Run supporters group. Shout out to Matthew for getting that started, and I'm looking forward to seeing. Actually, probably have you on the show pretty soon, and get a chance to chop it up with you about that. But yeah, anyway, he set up this fantasy draft, and got homies all over the cultureverse to discuss what to do this draft. You're drafting current players, former players, coaches, all that and everything. And yes, it caught the attention of one of our draft picks. Of course, our team being AC Cultura. And it caught the attention of the Carolina Core FC and their chief sporting officer, that being Mr. Eddie Pope. And with the stuff that we do, of course, we do concept kits and everything. Of course, I couldn't just leave AC Cultura just all dripless and everything. So of course, I designed a kit for AC Cultura. And like I said, they caught the attention, and the people at Carolina Core reached out to us, said, "Hey, you want to have Mr. Pope on the show?" I was like, "Yeah." Of course, they're not even knowing that Eddie Pope is one of my all-time favorite players. Mark, he's fucking up there, and because of course, me being a DC United fan, going back to when the league first started, I was I followed the whole team back in the day, and of course, him being a lanky, tall North Carolina kid like myself, I was if I get the opportunity to have him on the show, then absolutely. And it just might not be just him. I'm working on some stuff with the rest of the staff. Hopefully we can do that before the end of the next pro season. But yeah, needless to say, on today's show we have Eddie Pope on the show. We have a special interview with him, and I'll be setting up in just a bit. And yeah, Mark, I have to tell you, like I said, dreams come true, man. Because he's chill as I don't know what. I did have one. Right before I was about to jump on and start the interview, my internet just wanted to just spaz out for a quick second, and just nothing was connecting. I was like, no, of all times to suddenly just start spazzing on me, and thankfully it went by pretty quickly. And but yeah, man, I was ready to just start crying. Just no, this could not be happening. Because of course you want to make sure that you leave a good impression. And yeah, thankfully that went by very quickly. So yeah, we do have Mr. Eddie Pope, chief sporting officer with Carolina Core FC, on the show with an interview later on today. But in the meantime, of course, we've been off for a couple weeks now. Of course, shout out to everybody who we linked up with last weekend in Atlanta for the SheBelieves Cup. Of course, shout out to Sky and Silves, Ebony, and the rest of the Shea Butter team. I see you too, GA, for coming through and coming down. I mean, shout out to Dr. Odom for hooking us up in the AUC. Like, dog, like, honestly, I have to be honest with you, Mark. Like, the way things were going, I was very pessimistic as far as like just how things are going to work out, and it actually turned out working out pretty well.
It's funny. I feel like that's a kind of a life lesson, right? It's like you plan for things to go a certain way. There's a way you want them to go in your head, but a lot of times it doesn't play out like that exactly. But things have a way of working out, and I echo that sentiment to a degree. I'm really happy with seeing the people I was able to see. I hadn't seen Sky or Sills. I'm pretty sure I hadn't seen them.
Yeah. This is the first time you meet them. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, I hadn't seen them since end of.
Oh, yes, right. DC. That's right. Yeah, you did see them in DC.
It's been over a year, so good to see them. I actually walked by Andre from.
You rock with tall ass Andre.
Yeah, exactly. He was, because what stood out to me? He was wearing that fresh ass unserious pink hoodie. He wore that to the game, and I actually walked. We were outside the stadium. I was actually walking to meet y'all, and I walked by him, and I was like, "Oh, I reckon. I bet that looks like him." But it's downtown. He blended in with all the other tall buildings. So,
yeah, man. You know what? I'm a bit disappointed, Andre, because one thing I try to make sure of, especially with everybody coming into Atlanta for SheBelieves, was I try to make sure I try to do my best to be a half decent host. And one thing that we did before everybody kind of dispersed and went back to their own abodes and everything was just break bread a bit. We had because we had brunch Sunday. Of course, I don't know why we went to Midtown, because I mean. Well, everyone was trying to make the traveling a lot easier, so I get it. But I was just like, you're asking for a lot when you're trying to get brunch done in Midtown. You just ask for on
a Sunday,
and of course we rolled deep anyway, so it's like 9 or 10 of us. And then of course an extra homie, shout out to Doug for pulling up on us, and I was like they were just making us wait on purpose. I mean, just playing in our faces, like, hey. Like, people who came in after us were getting tables. People who didn't, who were there just as long as we were, they were getting tables. I'm like, how about you just put this table together, and say, hey, y'all work this out. But I guess that was too much right. But I mean, all in all, the chop up session, the live show with Shea Butter on Friday, the tailgate on Saturday. Of course, we ended up getting moved, I think, twice that morning. And then, of course, the game itself. I'm actually kind of upset that I didn't realize that Marta and Cristiane were called up for Brazil. I would have stayed longer for the second game, because by the time that first game ended, my back was like, I'm done, because of course I was up early. I was trying to make it through the day. I was like, okay, we won. I'm out. And then, of course, we still had the Brazil Canada game. And yeah, I didn't realize that the legends, the GOATs were up in there. I would have absolutely stayed longer. But like I said, all in all, it was a great weekend. And hopefully you had a great time as well, Mark.
I did. It was so funny. So that was the U.S. women's national team game in Atlanta was the highest attended domestic friendly.
Yeah.
In the program's history. Listed attendance of 54,000. Of course, the whole thing about listed versus how many actual people are there. But it did seem like a significant number. And the second highest was actually the last U.S. women's national team game that I went to, which was in Philadelphia in 2019. It was after the World Cup. I think that was a one of those celebration tour.
Vendor tour. Yeah.
So, but no, it was great to see them again. So first time seeing them in 5 years, and we saw hopefully a little taste of the next era.
You know what? I mean, of course, we're still waiting on Emma Hayes to make her way back stateside from Chelsea. But just being able to see the women up in action. Of course, I mean the dynamics around the team are changing very, very rapidly, and then of course we got the first game back of Katarina Macario. It's been like nearly 2 years since her last cap with dealing with her knee injury, and who else came back?
Who else? Oh, was it Mal?
Yeah. Mal Swanson's first game since her injury last year. So, like I said, like we are, let's looking mighty brown up in there. Looking mighty brown.
It's a lot of melanin.
Yeah, absolutely. But yes. Aside from that, it's been. I'll be honest with you, Mark. Given how things have gone this year, at least I feel like in the news with MLS, I feel like I just haven't been nearly as invested as I normally am. Like I actually, of course, we're recording this on Sunday. The home team played against Philly. I actually didn't even go. Like I took care of some personal biz that I had to take care of. Did some a little bit of quick grocery shopping as well. And I wasn't even tripping about it. I was like, I'll get to it, and I'll know about you. Like I don't know if it's just the situation with the U.S. Open Cup. I don't know if it's a situation with just so many things I feel like that could be better and just aren't. And I don't know if it's just finally catching up to us. But I don't know. It feels weird, and I feel like I want to be invested. Especially I want to be invested still in the home team, but like. I feel like MLS as a whole, it's like I still have my season ticket. I probably pulled up maybe 3 times this year, but yeah, like otherwise, like it's like if I miss something, I'm not even tripping about it anymore. What about you?
Yeah, I echo those sentiments, and so I guess I'll work like in chronological order, like backwards, right?
Okay.
So most recently, like the Open Cup stuff, the stuff with the referees. I'm not gonna support. An organization using replacement employees, but obviously that's been resolved. I was kind of put off by their decision to not do the offer the MLS season pass for T-Mobile customers, and for context, Major League Baseball has been doing this for I think the last 7 or 8 years.
Oh wow!
Where T-Mobile customers get free MLB TV, which allows you to watch every game except in-market teams, and then certain channels certain games that are on like ESPN, Fox, whatever. Right? Mm-hmm. But and they're committed to keep doing it until 2028 at least. That's when this current agreement is up until. And so it's like Major League Baseball, a much bigger sport, right? Mm-hmm. A much richer sport, at least compared to MLS. Yeah. Still giving out their free stuff because they know like that'll keep customers coming back. And MLS does it for 1 year, and then they decided it's too good for it. So I don't have MLS season pass. How much do you pull it up?
I mean, it's a weird thing because we talked about it last year when the Apple deal was first getting started, and for a lot of people out there, like you weren't just getting. If you weren't watching MLS on, cable or for your local outlets, it was like, did you really watch it all? And I feel like, unlike the other carriers like ESPN Plus, Paramount Plus, Peacock, typically you're getting not just the league that you want to watch, but you're also getting complimentary content as well, from movies, other sports, anything like that. And like with Apple and with MLS season pass, like you're paying $15, but it's just for MLS. And I feel like when like you really have to be invested in simply wanting to watch just MLS in order to want to invest in it. And like, it's not even a case of like where they possibly like offer like just like a team only package where like if I only follow Atlanta United, I can get a package for just Atlanta United games. Like we're not even getting that. Right. And I feel like that's something that I feel like you should offer, because again, like you want to make sure that you still keep bringing as many people as possible to, to keep your eyes on the product. Otherwise, like they did actually have 2 games on Fox this weekend, but like if it's not teams that you follow, like is it even guaranteed that people are going to watch it? Like it's not like the NFL where it doesn't, like in most cases people are still going to watch even if it's not your team. Like I don't think MLS is in that space where people will just watch just because it's two great teams. Like we still have a bit more digging to go before we're in that space to where people are just watching either way. But it's like I say, it's just an interesting space. Of course, maybe when they're talking about expanding the roster rules, adding some cash in this summer, where it is they're splitting up the under 22 rule and the DPs. So like you can basically have either three designated players, 3 under 22 project players, or you can do 2 DPs and 4 under 22. So, and I think like an extra like 200,000 in Gam and Blam. I don't know, but
Garbage bucks.
Yeah, but hopefully that does something. But I just feel like in a lot of ways, like it still comes back down to the product on the field and just getting people to want to invest. Because like it doesn't matter like how, like who you sign or how big their name is. Like at some point those players are going to leave, and it's still going to be about like what else do you have? I mean, like I think we're still trying to ride the wave of Messi, but he's like, 37, 38 now? Like, he's not going to be there forever. So you got to, have a succession plan. So that way people are still going to be invested once that one big fish leaves. It's interesting just to see like what they are trying to do to help maintain, other, fans who aren't fans of Inter Miami, who aren't fans of Messi, to be like, hey, I still want to, get involved in that.
It's fascinating you bring up Messi. Like I just saw the goal. It was
that goal yesterday. That goal yesterday was pretty nice. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, yeah. And so they did a whole thing for that game. Sporting Kansas City did, right? So they didn't have their usual home stadium. They have
in Arrowhead at where the Chiefs play.
And when I saw the highlight for that goal, I was like, "Oh damn, where are the Sporting KC fans?"
You know what?
I mean, they were there. They were there,
but it's like it's always weird when like you have these teams who obviously have like their own stadiums and everything, but you're clearly bumping it up to a bigger stadium that's in the area, and it's like, where are these fans when you're back at your regular stadium? Because clearly they want to see soccer at some level, but they're not coming to see you when if it's SKC versus RSL. Are you still coming through as deep, or is it just only when Messi's here? Like you got to like make up your mind here. Because I mean,
I think in that case they're not getting that crowd unless Messi's there.
Right, and that's like I said, I feel like that's a very, very, very big disconnect when it comes to wanting to invest in MLS. On the regular, because like you gotta have more than just the gimmicks to get people interested. Otherwise, you end up in a space where you only where like 90% of your content is behind a paywall, and even that. It granted, I said the Messi effect was huge for season pass, but again, he ain't gonna be there forever. And then what you gonna do? So.
And that paywall thing, man. So I'm just going to read a quote or a tweet. United Soccer League match on broadcast television, CBS.
Yes, I saw that.
0.23 and 362,000.
Nice.
And I guess whatever MLS on Fox game was that weekend was opposite the Final Four. But that came at 0.13 and 211,000.
Damn.
And this really gets back to your point. You know what I mean? Like USL is moving in this direction where they're, getting more broadcast television opportunities.
Yeah.
And another league that's doing that is NWSL.
Yeah.
Like they're putting stuff on their own NWSL Plus
Yep.
channel, which is free. I have Bay FC versus Seattle on right now. Pictures pretty
Indeed.
solid. They have a score bug, and we know what's going on, so that's good. But yeah, also like Ion, right? Ion is easy to find. It's free.
Is it?
Well, I mean, it was easy for me to find. I don't know, because I have a Roku, so I guess.
Yes, exactly.
But the most important thing, I didn't have to sign up for something.
Right.
I didn't have to pay for it. It's like it's free over the air. So, like, and then they have Paramount and so CBS and ABC. So it's like, it's like they're filling the space that MLS has essentially abandoned.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to say that they abandoned. I think that, for what MLS wanted and for the ratings that they were getting at the time, I don't think there was a network that was willing to give them the price that they wanted. And I think that, again, like I feel like for USL as well as for NWSL, I would say more than likely the production costs aren't nearly as high. And so it's more cost effective, at least for the networks, to be like, hey, I'll go ahead and invest in this as compared to what we know this product brings or doesn't bring in. And, maybe we have a sleeper hit and we can turn USL into sub. We can continue to make NWSL into an even bigger league than what it is right now. I mean, they're already talking about adding Boston next year. I will say, just to kind of circle back to the SheBelieves stuff, like I said, we got 50,000 last week in Atlanta.
Sure.
Ms. Berman, what we got to do here? Because Atlanta's ready. Atlanta is clearly ready.
Listen, a decent amount of people stayed for that second game, too. I mean, there were definitely more empty seats than people, but I would say there was a solid 10,000 people.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I feel like if you now, granted, it's probably in order to fill what they want to fill for the bins, that means we're probably gonna have to spend like crazy. But I feel like even then, it's still gonna be a drop in the bucket, and I feel like you'll still have the desired atmosphere that you want to have for the bins and for an Atlanta team. So again, Sperman, what we got to do here? Like, what else we got to do? Because you got the US Soccer headquarters here. They just broke ground on Monday. You had the SheBelieves stuff. Of course, you were all over the city last week. I'm like, what more do you want here? I mean, what we got to do? You want popcorn as well? I mean, like, what we got to do?
I mean, affordable concessions. So it's been a while since I've been to the Benz, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't eat before I went in, and I was like, man, I gotta go get something.
Hungry, cuz.
And we were hanging out with the homie TK, and he was like, they got the $2 hot dogs over there. I was like, $2 hot dogs. They were. They were right there.
It's clutch. It's clutch.
Molly B's.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like that's one of the Benz. Like I will say, like I genuinely enjoy my experience at the Benz. I never get tired of it. Between the concessions, the freedom to be able to move about. I think the sight lines are work in progress, but I think it's
actually better when they had that when they had that platform. So because of course everything is higher up, so like you're able to see a little bit more. But I'm looking like that was my first time seeing the bins with the grass platform. Of course, I'm hoping that did you ever hear what happened with Naomi Girma? What was the injury?
No, I thought something was her thigh, but I don't think they gave us much more updates. I know she didn't play last night, so
see, like that's the kind of stuff. Like I said, it has me a little worried, but like I said, I feel like like we have enough time between now and 2026. Of course, we'll have the games this summer with the Copa America. Plus, we'll have some extra friendlies this summer. We'll have the opportunity to kind of like tweak what we need to. So hopefully by the Club World Cup, by the main World Cup, we'll be in a really good space. But I said,
also I've heard that NFL players are starting to kind of make a push towards away from turf.
I mean, everybody that's played long enough, they all prefer grass over turf. I mean, doesn't say that they're not saying that that turf is completely bad. It's just that grass is more natural. It feels better on the joints and the body. And now that we show this flexibility to be able to install a grass field, I would definitely say that we're going to use it more often than not. At least going into 2026, it'll be interesting to see like how, if they did try to do it for football, like when would they try to use it? Because I feel like you probably couldn't do it weekly like with the Falcons, but perhaps it may be something like for the New Year's Bowl games for colleges and everything, maybe something like that. But yeah, it's interesting times, and definitely hopefully you guys are checking us out on your favorite podcast apps and also on YouTube. But yeah, I definitely don't want to hold you guys up any longer. Again, we had an opportunity a couple of days back to chat with the chief sporting director with Carolina Core FC, Mr. Eddie Pope. Again, shout out to their team for connecting with us. Yeah, we had a good 30-minute chat on last Wednesday. We hit up the Core, talked about the U.S. Open Cup, hit up a little bit about his career, and just also, of course, with his role, what does he try to look for as far as looking for that next latest and greatest, basically. But hopefully you guys enjoy it. We'll be back on the other side with 2 Up and 2 Down, and yeah, we're going to listen to myself and Mr. Pope right now. We are back here. I have a very special guest with us on the podcast with us, and I have to admit here, this is actually a pretty surreal moment, because all this considered, like the way that we got the attention of the team and then this man is like so random. For those of y'all that saw us do our Black History League draft a few weeks ago, one of our picks, the proud team of AC Coutura, was the center back here that's with us today. Former member of DC United, U.S. national team. I mean, honestly, a person that's near and dear to my heart as a proud North Carolinian and myself. And yeah, we have the sporting director of Carolina Core FC. We have Eddie Pope on the pod with us. What is going on, Mr. Pope? How you doing?
I'm well. Thank you for having me on.
Hey, it's an absolute honor. Actually, hang on. I need to set the tone real quick. Give me one quick second.
Okay. There you go. Yes, sir.
Now, for those of y'all who obviously aren't seeing us yet on social media, like I said, I got a nice little talking piece in the background here that I will definitely get to before we end this interview. But yeah, how's your day going today, Eddie?
Can't complain. We just got finished with training today. So yeah, starting off strong.
Now, I'd like to educate the people when we have these interviews. Of course, again, you are the Chief Sporting Officer with Carolina Core FC. Tell us what exactly you do with the Core.
Yeah, as you said, I'm the Chief Sporting Officer. You know, my role involves player selection, bringing in a coaching staff, getting them organized, on the daily basis, being out at training, watching training, chiming in when it makes sense. Helping with, putting together some training sessions from time to time, although we have a fantastic coaching staff that does that in general. Organizing, practices and then kind of connecting all of that with the front office and being a little bit of a bridge between the two. But I'd say the main roles, right, are just, player selection and recruiting and for MLS Next Pro and an independent team, it's also helping players develop and then getting them out into MLS where they're all aspiring to be, or abroad as well.
Definitely. And I definitely have a question when we circle back probably at the end of this, because I definitely want to give a shout out to, of course, what you're looking for in the future. Of course, Carolina Core, they are just coming off of now 2 wins in the U.S. Open Cup. Last week you beat Vermont Green 2-1, and you actually have a match next Wednesday against what used to be the big boys in North Carolina FC, and out in Raleigh. How are you feeling towards that match?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be extremely difficult. USL championship team. Obviously, they were last year's champs. They moved up. They retooled. They have some extremely experienced players. They're typically, USL championship, the players are going to be a little bit older than our players. Certainly will have more experience. So it's going to be a heck of a challenge for us, but we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, definitely. So you've been with the Core for a little while. I think you were there when the Core was first announced. What got you interested in the Carolina Core project, and obviously resulting in you being involved as the sporting officer?
Yeah, one of the investors of the club, and then also a potential investor at that time, reached out to me and said, "Hey, I knew them before this." Said, "Hey, there's a professional team coming to High Point," and I didn't know. And so I was like, I feel like I would have heard about that.
Right.
But I hadn't. And so, yeah, it was just, I started doing a little bit of due diligence through them, and learning more and more about the project over those months. And it just seemed like it was going to be a good fit for me. So, I owe it to those two individuals for getting me here and getting me involved with the club.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I'm from North Carolina as well. I'm on from the other side out in Kinston, but I actually do have a lot of family in High Point and Greensboro. Most of my family actually went out to Dudley and everything. So like I said, I'm vaguely aware of everything going out in Greensboro. So this has definitely been something I've kept an eye on. Of course, with Core, Charlotte FC, like it's in of course with North Carolina FC, like the game's always been strong in the state, so it's definitely good to see this happening. Of course, as you've been progressing through the U.S. Open Cup, of course, a lot of controversy that came back when this tournament was starting this year, as far as MLS being involved and how it fit with the rest of lower league soccer. Like, how do you see like the importance of U.S. Open Cup and just in how the current environment of American pro soccer?
Yeah, I mean, I think with that, with all that happened there, I think that I think too many people took it as, well, MLS doesn't care about Open Cup. And but I think the reality of the situation is that the MLS schedules have become so extremely congested that it really became difficult for clubs to participate. I mean, it was the schedule gets packed more and more so every year, and it was just really difficult. And I'd say also that MLS clubs now, they have MLS Next Pro, so it provides a wonderful opportunity for those players who are looking to become MLS players to get significant minutes in those games. And I know, it was, hey, well, why can't the MLS clubs play sort of their players who are on the bench, who haven't seen a lot of minutes in the Open Cup, and then those would be the ones who get on the field. But those players play in MLS Next Pro, so that's kind of what is happening. And so I would say, for our club personally, for me personally, I should say, the U.S. Open Cup is important, and it's a tournament that I was fortunate enough to win. So
just a humble brag, real quick.
So I would say, and that was my first year in the league. So I think right out the gate, for me, it was obviously going to be something that I felt was significant in my career. And but I say for our club as well, it's just been something that's been important. It's an extremely difficult tournament, as we're about to find out probably next week. Going up, I mean, what an experience for our players. We went up to Vermont Green, an away game, in front of thousands of people. That crowd was probably the largest that a lot of our players had ever played in front of ever.
Wow.
Some of them had never seen snow before in their lives.
Yeah, you don't get it too much around North Carolina. You don't get it.
Yeah, so there's a lot of firsts for a lot of our players. So, I mean, so how do you replace that experience, right? So I think for us, we're happy that we were able to be involved in the Open Cup.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't even think about that. Like, because of course it's still up north and they probably still have snow. Like, I remember just being a kid in Raleigh, and I was just like, yeah, like when we got snow, if like we get that half an inch, we were doing something. So
Shut it down.
But being from the Carolinas and everything, how did you find the game, and what was your experience growing up as obviously a young Black kid around High Point?
Yeah, I mean, back then, soccer was just kind of growing, and for me, the higher level of soccer then was travel soccer. Right. So if you were going somewhere to go play, then you were at the highest level in your state, and then obviously at some point, Olympic development program came, and the sport continued to grow, but we were on par with I'd say every other state in regards to growth. And so soccer's, to me, has always been super important in North Carolina. I feel like the Carolinas has always been a hotbed for soccer, whether it was Raleigh-Durham or Charlotte or High Point, Greensboro, Winston-Salem area. And then you started to see some of the areas on the coast, Wilmington, Jacksonville, come along. And now you can have, the teams in Asheville, right? So it's really grown quite a bit, and we've kept pace with anywhere else in the country, and a lot of times ahead of the game, even, especially from a collegiate standpoint. For me, when I was younger, like a lot of Black kids, I was the only Black player on my team, right, most of the time. Every now and then you might have one more, and you would always look across the field and they have their one Black player on the team. And so, hopefully, that's obviously gotten a little bit better. I don't think it's where it needs to be, but we've also now seen more Latinos be involved in the game at the higher levels as well. So it's come a long way.
Yeah, definitely. To pivot a little bit, let's talk about the U.S. national team. Of course, we are in a very big cycle right now, leading up to 2026 and the World Cup coming here to the U.S. As well as Canada and Mexico. I guess the question I have is, like, what are you looking for from the national team from a performance perspective, both from the Copa coming on this summer, as well as from a developmental perspective from the Olympics coming later on this summer?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, you got to get there, and then I say once you in each of those events, it's how. Are the players developing as individuals, and then are we improving the way that we play as a team? Everybody wants to see us play in a way where possession is important. We're not just lumping the ball up the field unless the game requires that. But I would say for me, even in the last World Cup, I thought that we did that. I thought that we looked like a team that knew how to play together, that knew how to keep the ball, knew how to possess the ball, knew how to work its way up the field, knew how to defend. And we just came up against a better team in Holland, in the Netherlands. And the game ended the way it should have ended. And but for me, I mean, obviously the expectation is you're now consistently getting out of your group, no matter what. And I would say that, whether it's the Olympics or whether it's the World Cup, that's now the expectation. And then to also start to see the development of newer players who are kind of being brought into the fold, and how they function within the team. So I'm excited about it. How could you not be excited about it? Being at home, the team, we're going to be there no matter what, right? So which is good. But for the Olympics, we want to make sure that we're able to get there, right? We're able to do what we need to do. And but again, I think it's how we play, the style that we play. Everybody always says, what's our style? Brazil has a style, or France has a style. I mean, I just think nowadays it's just more about how we possess the ball as a team, and how we look individually. Do we attack well, 1v1? Do we defend well? And I think that we're moving in the right directions on both fronts.
Yeah, I'd be more than curious to kind of pick your brain on that, because I feel like, given how we have a very, very unique situation as far as our player pool, because of course you're talking about different cultures, different races, obviously different regions of the country, and everyone kind of deals with plays their own different way. So, and how you're trying to bring that all into one national team, that's always something that I feel like it's very unique to us, probably more different than any other country out there.
Yeah, and I think you can use those different styles and backgrounds to your advantage. And, maybe it's not so easy to pin down, a style of play, which some may say, well, that maybe that hurts us. But I think you can do that within a structured framework. And if we have players who are good on the ball 1v1, then, that's something we want to take advantage of. We have players who are good in possession in the midfield, and it's hard to take the ball from them. That's good too. We have bigger, stronger guys in the back, but who are also good with the ball at their feet, and they can pass, and their passing range is more than just 5 yards in front of them. I think because we have different types of people here, that's also different types of height and weight and strength and speed. We should be using all of that to our advantage.
Definitely. Now, of course, early this week, we had the groundbreaking of the new U.S. Soccer headquarters down here south of Atlanta, but I'm down in Fayetteville. Of course, with Atlanta having the 96 Olympics and now being the new home of U.S. Soccer, do you feel that the scene has come full circle in the South as far as the growth of soccer in down here?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously, once Atlanta had their Atlanta United showed up, and people were like, "Oh my gosh, they do like soccer down there." We all knew, and especially if you grew up playing soccer in North Carolina, then you knew that was a hotbed for soccer, and you're kind of like, why are we not opening this up in the South, and why are we not opening this up in Charlotte? Because Charlotte's bigger than Atlanta. When will that happen? And boy, have both of them really have done a phenomenal job of not only when they were first year franchises and just breaking records like every year when they open. It's just been enjoyable to watch. Just both Charlotte and Atlanta, watching them just blossom as clubs has just been enjoyable.
Yeah, you should have seen me 10, 15 years ago. I was like, hey, Raleigh's right here. Of course, we know that North Carolina has been such a major hotbed for the game, and I'm like, yeah, just go ahead, just flood it all the way through the state. But yeah, that's me getting off my soapbox for a little bit. But yeah, going back to, of course, I do want to talk about you and your career. What was your favorite or greatest MLS memory, or possibly with the national team?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think MLS is the first MLS Cup.
In the rain.
In the rain, and scoring a goal in that game, which is such an important moment for me. I think just confidence-wise and being a younger player who just kind of shown up. And then I'd say the national team, clearly it was just the first time, I played in a World Cup match. And I think when you line up and you hear your national anthem, you kind of have little flashbacks of all those moments that got you there. And so for me, I would just say the very first game of my very first World Cup was a great moment for me. Yeah,
I remember everything from that first year. I remember very vividly, because back then I was still living in Richmond. So do you see that it was pretty much like my team growing up, and I just remember watching that first MLS Cup and up in Foxborough with that. I mean, the rain was just awful.
Crazy, yeah.
I can only imagine how it was for y'all. But I was like, yeah, that can't be fun. But yeah, circling back, again, with Carolina Core, you're in a unique position with MLS Next Pro. What do you feel like? What are some of the most important aspects or traits that a player can carry into today's game?
In MLS Next Pro, and one of the things that are super important is player development. Everybody wants to win, and that is extremely important. But you have to balance that with player development, because the goal is for players to come into these teams and move on to the first team, and if they're good enough, then they maybe move on and play in Europe or somewhere else. So player development is really one of the most important things. And I think if, you're asking like, what's a good trait to bring? I think one of them will be patience, because a lot of times they come in and it's almost always harder than they think it is. Especially with MLS Next Pro, I think people are like, well, how good is the league really? But now that we've started to fold in these independent teams, I think you're going to see over the next 3 to 5 years, as the league gets flooded with more independent teams, the level is going to continue to increase. But I would also say for the existing MLS Next Pro teams, MLS Next academies are 100% preparing players for the professional level. I mean, I've been very impressed at how good some of these young players are. And a lot of that is because they came out of MLS Next academies where the coaching is good. You're seeing former professional players who are becoming the head coaches, former collegiate players who are the head coaches, and they're mimicking a model that the parent club has, and then they have access to some of them $30-40 million training facilities, and then they also have the visualization now of an MLS Next Pro team and then an MLS club. Sometimes you can't do it if you can't see it, and a lot of these players are around that environment and they're breathing the game, and it's making a significant difference. And I think over the next 5 to 10 years, I mean, the game's already grown so much we can see. We were talking about Charlotte and Atlanta, but it's also doing the same thing for players. And so I think it really is just patience. As players come in, it's harder than they think it is when they first get here, and they have to give themselves time to develop and really be able to take their game to the next level.
Gotcha. And kind of to piggyback on that, obviously you're telling them like what to look for. Like when you watch games nowadays, like who do you like to watch? Like what players stand out to you?
I mean, I enjoy watching EPL. I think that's, a lot of people's favorite league because, there's you look at the top 5 to 7 teams, and the soccer is fun to look at, right? It's very fluid. The players are so good. There's such a high level. Teams almost have national team players starting in every single position. So the level is extremely high. The stands are packed. It's just a great product, on-field product. And then of course, watching La Liga is fantastic. And then more than anything else, Champions League, when they all come and clash, as we saw like yesterday, right?
Yeah. Crazy game yesterday.
Some great games yesterday. But it's amazing. Like that level is so extremely high, and it'll be fun that we'll have a lot of those players on here in the U.S. here soon, and not to mention Copa America as well. So.
Yeah, definitely. This summer should be very busy. I'm hoping to get back home. Definitely during June, because of course you have Copa's down here, but of course the one tournament that's actually near and dear to my heart is the TST. I'm hoping like everything I heard last year, I was like, that's something that I definitely want to check out. Mm-hmm. But before we wrap up here, I did want to ask just a couple more questions. And one that's obviously near and dear to us. What does culture in the game mean to you?
When you say culture, what are you referring to mostly?
Black culture. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for in regards to Black culture, one of the things that that when I was growing up, it wasn't cool to play soccer. Soccer was a sport that wasn't for Black kids. You should be playing basketball and baseball and football, which I was playing, but it wasn't like the cool sport, and that's changed some. Some of it has just been technology and kids. You turn on the TV now and you see a lot of Black players playing, and if you start to learn that, well, what sport do they play in Africa, right? Well, they play soccer. So I think there's been some of that's gone on, but I think we still have to continue to do a better job at the grassroots level of trying to continue to, which will be difficult, kind of peel back the layers of pay to play. We need to get the sport in certain communities. For our MLS Next Academy and all the other ones really as well, at least MLS Next Academies. it's free of charge. Now the key is the years before that and getting, kids of color there. And, but I think that's been kind of cool. I think it's changed quite a bit as to a sport that just, quote unquote, wasn't for us is now for everybody. And I'd like to see that continue.
Yeah, definitely. Of course, I'm sure that anyone that's familiar with soccer in North Carolina, again, this is a man that I think the resume kind of speaks for itself. How do y'all typically take like tryouts, or is it a certain period of time during the year? Like what's the best way for people to say, hey, I want to go out and be a part of the core?
Yeah, we had tryouts before the season started. My guess is, we may do it again. And we always have that on our website. We always announce that for sure. I'd say we probably had a total of easily 300 people that tried out, 250 to 300, something like that came and tried out. And so I would foresee us doing something like that again before the next season. And I'd say that's probably the best way that people can find out about it. But again, it's on social media. It's it's everywhere, so it will not be hard to find.
Gotcha. Yes, and you can find Carolina Core FC on Twitter, aka X, at Carolina Core _FC. And yes, this jersey back here. When I got into my whole bit of jersey collecting and customizing that we often do here at FTC, the first jersey I purchased, an MLS jersey that I purchased was a DC United jersey. It was 2011. And when I went to go get it personalized, I was like, who do I want to get? Because, I knew, obviously, the original dynasty from the 90s, yourself, John Harkes, Raul Diaz-Arce, Marco Echeverri. I was like, who should I get? And I was like, it absolutely had to be Eddie Pope, because I remember being that tall, skinny kid, that you were the person that easily connected with me when I saw players out in the pitch. And like I said, from seeing your career through DC United, through Real Salt Lake, and also obviously through the national team, I was like, you've always been my guy. And of course, you being from North Carolina as I am, I was like, that absolutely had to be us. Like I've held on to this one for the better part of 15 years now. And I'm like, yeah, when Aiden reached out to me, I was like, oh, we're talking about this jersey, because this was absolutely special to me. But I'm absolutely honored to have you on the pod. And again, you can reach Carolina Core _FC. Again, Mr. Pope, absolute honor to have you on. Did you have any things you wanted to shout out, plug, anything like that?
No, I just heard that you guys might have a jersey I might be interested in. That's what I heard.
We are working on these AC Cultura jerseys, and yes, like I designed that myself. So yeah, like I'm working with Icarus right now to get those produced. Hopefully we
Nice.
can announce something towards the end of this month. But yeah, like I said, that's part of my self-care, honestly. When I'm bored and I have to, and I just have them like trying to, keep my mind occupied, I will design all day long. Like I got scarves, jerseys, anything. But yes, it's absolutely honored to have you on, and hopefully we can connect again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Well, there you have it. I have to admit to you guys, like, I don't know if it's because of the time constraints or just my own nervousness, but hopefully you guys like the interview. Again, thanks again to Mr. Eddie Pope. Shout out to Aiden. He's I guess one of their social media guys with the core for, again, putting this all together. We have been trying to get this done for probably the last 2 or 3 weeks, and of course they were in the middle of their U.S. Open Cup run. Of course, they have a game this Wednesday against the North Carolina FC, so that should be a pretty big game for them. And again, like hopefully I can get my my Eddie Pope jersey signed because like again, like when I went into all of my let's just say my jersey customizing rabbit hole, it kind of all starts with that jersey. It really does. Like I got that jersey in 2011, and that's what I was still living in Maryland at the time, and the season was about to start. And like that was one of the first when I moved into my apartment in Silver Spring, that was one of the first purchases that I made, and when I again like when I wanted to get it personalized, I was like, he was the first person that came up. Like I was like, I didn't want to get anybody current because of course I feel like you never know like how current players are going to turn out, and like if you end up getting like a Man United jersey and you get a Phil Jones jersey, then it's gonna be like. Luckily for me, I had ulterior reasons as far as why I got a Phil Jones 4 jersey, but because that's my family's name on my mom's side, but yeah, like but yeah, if unless that person's been there at least like at least a good 5 years, it doesn't make sense to get someone that just got there. Like it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
But yes, for all of you out there, of course, if you got somebody that you got, or maybe you want to do something for yourself, make sure you hit up your boys at ftcutd.com/shop. Get your name sets, get your t-shirts. I just saw today we got a double order for the Racism Counter shirts because they are back in stock. So make sure you hit up those. And again, like we've been doing pretty well with the new jerseys for this year. And definitely, if you still have yet to get your jersey personalized yet, and you need that special touch from your fam, from your boys, hit us up, ftcutd.com/shop, and we make it silky smooth, as they say. But yeah, we're not gonna hold you guys too much longer. We're gonna go ahead and hop up in this 2 up and 2 down. Mr. Mark, what you got, man?
Yeah, my 2 up, 2 down is going to be women's sports focused. So the up, first one we kind of covered earlier, but just the U.S. women's national team. Being able to see them in person, and they definitely had some adversity, like allowing a goal within a minute, but we saw them prevail in the SheBelieves, and we saw it happen through, Trinity, Sophia Smith, Mal Pugh, Jaden Shaw, them playing together, and they had their individual moments where they shined. Jaden Shaw had that beautiful, beautiful goal in Atlanta, just like a perfect low strike. Like it was just like you couldn't have thrown it any better than that. It was just gorgeous. And so, yeah, it was great to see that, partly in person and just, in general, hopefully this group is in a good spot that MAAs can take this and, kind of run with it in the Olympics. Now, my down, that's U.S. Women's National Team related, is how they've gone about the Korbin Albert situation.
Yeah.
She played in both matches of that, right? She was called. So, like, calling her up, I kind of understood. Because it's like, okay, let's get her around the group. Let's, have these conversations that need to be had. Let's handle these things and so forth, right? I get that.
Hold on. Back up real quick. Let's get people some context as far as what exactly happened here.
Yeah. Oh, right, yeah. So for those of you who haven't heard, it was revealed that Korbin Albert on TikTok liked and reposted. She reposted some things on TikTok that was, mainly the most egregious stuff was anti-trans. It appeared that she was the content that she reposted was like conversion therapy sort of things. There's also just a lot of bizarre reposts on there. Like stuff like cisgender is a slur, and date right, and just a lot of real shaky stuff, right? She also liked a post that was basically, I think, either celebrating or wishing injury upon Megan Rapinoe.
I think it was wishing. Either way, it's like that's
I think
that's
this was
fucking
before,
shady.
right? Yeah, exactly. It's crazy, right? It's like, this is a teammate of yours, and like, just in general, just a fellow colleague who plays the game. Like, you never wish injury upon somebody. So, like, just stuff that. And then there was a response from Megan Rapinoe, and she didn't even, she wasn't concerned about the personal jab. She was concerned about the anti-trans messages that Korbin Albert was reposting. And so she gave her support to the trans community, and basically give a message of, if you essentially support that, or rather, you may have your religious beliefs, but what are you actually bringing to the world? Because if all you're bringing is hate and cruelty, you need to wake up. And so, she was strong and resolute, as she always is. And then also other players, upon this getting out there, other players like, I know Alex Morgan and Lindsey Horan addressed it in the first press conference they did for SheBelieves. And I forget, I know that other players came out and basically gave their support to the trans community. I mean, this is something that the U.S. Women's National Team has literally worn Protect Trans Kids wristbands during games, so, like, obviously, as a program, and this group in particular, that is something that they stand for. So, all that to say, it's like, okay, how would they go about handling this, right? And so, on the one hand, I can understand wanting to bring her around the group and have those conversations and all that. But then you play her, right, in both games. And in the first game, you sandwiched her sub in between Kat Macario and Crystal Dunn, right? And that was Kat Macario's return to the national team. Like, you basically kind of ruined her moment a bit, and this is a point that Andre and Courtney made on Diaspora United. So, that was pretty fun. How they went about that is pretty fun. It's just not really clear, like, that there were necessarily consequences in this situation. Like I said, I think they could have handled that better. There's actually a quote from Andre and this is from something he wrote, but basically he says, I'm not sure U.S. Soccer has thought of or cares about the message sent by Albert being available for both Masters and coming on. Is there a standard or not? If so, who does it apply to? Who is it meant to protect? Who's left out? Why is that okay with the Federation? So, so just they're going to need to do better. I think we could think that much can be said.
Yes.
My second up is the women's college basketball. They had a phenomenal tournament, lots of intrigue. I think I don't know if Iowa was one of the two best teams, but they have Caitlin Clark, who's pretty good. And South Carolina's obviously
from last year.
They went undefeated. They had an entirely new starting five from last year, and they just ran the table. And,
Atlanta's own Raven.
Caitlin Clark started off on a heater, but Raven Johnson had her moments, right? After getting waved off like it. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, yeah. Okay. But yeah, 18. But most of all,
the highest rated basketball game, men, women, college, pro, anywhere in like the last 5 years.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
18.7 million, right? And so it's women's sports isn't the future; it's here. You know, and finally, I think this is what we've seen is the result of proper investment. Actual belief by these media outlets. Between the marketing and the
sure.
presentation. Um, I think this you can
Oh no,
have
I was
this
just
more
going to say
often.
that
This doesn't have to
I
be a
just
one-off.
want this energy to translate
The
over to
down
the
Losing.
WNBA. We've seen their ratings also continue to go up since the pandemic, and like to me, the
Yes.
the dynamic with Caitlin Clark, and let's not forget Angel Reese in that dynamic as well. It gives a lot of Bird versus Magic energy.
Yeah.
And for those of y'all who aren't the history buffs that we might be, remember that rivalry started in college in the Final Four in 1979, and that crossed over into the NBA, and of course they happened to go into probably the two most perfect markets for those two players, and really were responsible for turning the NBA into the media juggernaut that we know it today. Like that all started with those two guys. So we could quite possibly be having that moment with women's basketball to where the WNBA, if they take advantage of this, can turn this into where they are a formidable presence and TV and streaming and everything. And if they don't take advantage of this, it's you're going to know why, because again, like when you see numbers like 14 million, 18 million, it's like clearly you have talents that people, men or women, want to watch. So now it's on the pro league to make something out of it and make it so where their league is something that people want to watch, whether it's in the summer or quite hopefully during a traditional basketball season calendar. But either way, they got some gold here.
Yeah, and I mean, I think just like women's college basketball, they have a good platform as it is. Like you mentioned, the ratings have been increasing since the pandemic, and so I think it's at a good spot to continue taking off. With the right marketing, with the right approach, with television, with the right
Yeah.
approach with products, right? Like how often do we
Yep.
see in women's sports, you're trying to get some women's sports gear and they're sold out, like that. That's you just leaving money on the table. So, but yeah, I mean, like I'm excited for the WNBA. I think it's going to be a big season for them. I'm definitely going to make an effort personally to watch more games than I have before. See what I'm trying to decide if I'm going to be a Mystics or a Dream fan. Because I mean, I hold it down for the Wizards.
They're right down the road down College Park, right, like almost right adjacent to the airport.
I would actually be able
tickets
to go to
aren't
Dream
very
games, so.
expensive. Probably said they're probably like $10-15 if that, for most of the tickets in the arena. And I'm not gonna say that we're close personal friends with Renee Montgomery, but we got this thing on Twitter, so we cool. So like I said, we definitely might have to pull up on a couple games this year.
Oh,
I'm just saying.
okay.
I'm just saying. Okay. We'll see how long. We'll see how deep the plug goes.
I'm gonna have to hit you up for the court sides. right. So, and my downside is, so I want to be very clear about something. I enjoy watching Caitlin Clark. I think she's a great talent. I think that she will eventually do well in the WNBA. But the Caitlin Clark fanboys and girls, the people who like clearly don't watch women's basketball or haven't put the effort into it before, these people are saying that, oh, Caitlin Clark's either, it's one of two things you see. one, Caitlin Clark's going to kill it at the next level, or two, y'all need Caitlin Clark for your league to survive, for anyone to pay attention to it. And it's just demonstrably false, right? Like, the W fans are there, you know what I mean? Like, and I think this erasure of the previous stars, well, not even previous, but the current stars, and even like stars in their prime, stars a little bit older, like Diana Taurasi. But I think it's crazy to disrespect these athletes and the people who've been covering this game as these ratings have been going up, right? As more and more people are paying attention. And like the W right now is in a great place talent-wise. It's hard to break into the league and become a star, So I don't know. It's just it bothers me a lot when people are basically like, what people do is basically like, look, I'm watching because of Caitlin Clark.
But that's kind of like the same thing that we're talking about with Messi. It's like, and it's like there are other players beyond Messi, and it's up to you if you want to check out whatever else is out there. But I mean, it's the same thing with Caitlin Clark. Like you got, like I said, you literally had a team who went undefeated, but you're acting like this is the person who just can't lose no matter what. And I'm like, you have to understand, like this team over here replaced their whole starting five and just ran the table. Like you have the first black head coach to win 3 national championship games, and it's not like the game is going to stop with Caitlin Clark now that she's going on to the pros course. The WNBA draft is Monday night, and she should be going to the Indiana Fever. And mind you, like Indiana Fever already got like a former Naismith winner in Aaliyah Boston, so it's like that should be a very watchable team pretty soon. So, and of course, you still have the Aces that should be back pretty strong. You still have the Liberty that should be back pretty strong, and it's again like we just got to continue that energy so that way it doesn't just stop for a lot of players at college. Like they're able to translate that into a lot of that exposure continuing at the pro level as well, and make the WNBA truly viable at a much bigger level. So it's okay. Again, and one more thing, if y'all ain't on the Juju train by now, I don't know what to tell you. So
bro, the moment
all I'm gonna tell you is this: the next 5 championships the team's gonna be USC. It's just gonna be a matter of whether it's South Carolina or Southern Cal. So make up your mind. Cool.
Facts.
Yeah, like I said, it's been
that's all I got, man.
An interesting few weeks since we last came on. I'm probably going to talk about this a bit more probably on our next episode, but long story short is we are out of the 2 Cents business, 2 Cents FC business. I'll go into more detail about it probably in the next episode, but I'm going to just make that announcement pretty clear-cut right now. And I think that it's something that we probably needed to do for quite a while. Like I feel like especially considering the lack of episodes and recording that we've done, I'm pretty sure y'all have noticed in probably the last 7 or 8 months. It's definitely been as a result of that relationship kind of just breaking down and just not wanting to, do work for people who clearly don't want you in their business. So like I said, we'll discuss that in more detail probably in the next episode. Like, I feel like that's probably both an up and a down. So, take it for what you want. But let me go ahead and give y'all another up real quick. I've actually, I'll give you a personal one. Probably for the last month or so, I've gotten back into therapy. It's something that, I'm not gonna say that I've been avoiding. It's just more so like finding the time, finding the money to get this done. I got a silent benefactor that said, hey, if this is what you do, I will take care of it myself. So, shout out to who for that. And again, we're peeling back some layers. I think so it's not the first time I've done therapy before, but I think the things that I'm discussing is something that I probably haven't done since probably my mom passed. Of course, we're coming up on the anniversary of her passing. It'll be not tomorrow, Monday, but the following Monday, the 22nd. And, the funny thing is that the things that I've told my therapist, it's like, it gets a little hot and heavy because like we end up kind of like running over on times. I'm like, hey, it's a lot. And, hopefully, getting some answers already have definitely, helped me as far as my, outlook on things. And, I'm looking forward to just the continuing peeling of the onion and seeing where we go. Last but not least, I really only have one major down because I think it's a down for the culture in Atlanta as a whole. This past Saturday, we got word that Rico Wade, one of the co-founders of the Organized Noise Studios, co-founder of Outkast, Goody Mob, pretty much that whole clique, like that all really came from Rico Wade. And so like the sound that you largely know from Atlanta came from the mind of Rico Wade as well as Sleepy Brown and I don't know why his name is Pat is I don't know why his name's slipping me right now, but yeah, he passed away on Saturday at the age of 52. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Getting old is hard work, and we all have to, take responsibility for, making sure that we actually do make it to having a long life and, enjoying the people around us. So, prayers and thoughts to his whole family, his whole network. And I know it definitely sounded like it was very sudden and nobody saw it coming. And again, like it's just tough because again, you talk about a man who truly was like the essence of whatever people call an influencer. That's him. And just given everything that he's done for Atlanta culture, Black culture as a whole, hip hop. I mean, monuments should be built for the work that's been done from Organized Noise, and lost a real son of Atlanta. But yeah, again, next week, like I said, we're going to get more regular with these episodes now that we're shedding some weight and everything. So definitely, it shouldn't be definitely won't be 4 weeks again. I can definitely tell you that. If you haven't done so already, make sure that you check out the Chop It Up session that we were happy to do with Shea Butter back last week in Atlanta at the AUC. We had Curtis Jenkins, former president of Footy Mob. Our sister Vera Ziegler, she was also on. We've managed to get Coach Tony on the round table as well. And again, we were able to really just chop it up and just talk about, U.S. soccer coming to Atlanta and what this means. Also got a chance to discuss that even with Eddie Pope as well. Because again, when people say the South got something to say. Like you're going to find out what the South got to say in the next few years, because soccer in the South is about to really blow up something serious. And but yeah, again, look out for us. I'm still kind of trying to figure out how to do this, how to do our social media thing now, because like before the hack, it was so easy, FTC, UTD, but now that we got to deal with this damn hack, it's not quite the same anymore. So of course you can find us on the socials at FTC UTD Pod on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads. You can still find us on Twitter at FTC, and the conversation still continues there. Shout out to Crunk Chocolate, one of the guys on the Shades of Blue podcast. He managed to wrangle me into finally doing a wrestling podcast. So if you happen to be into all the WrestleMania stuff, all the AEW stuff, check out YFW Podcast. We're on all platforms, and so we have just, I think we're about 2 episodes in. Like we did a WrestleMania preview, then a WrestleMania review. So check that out and everything. But yeah, in the meantime, in between time, it's your boy Grego here. Thanks to me, Mark. Thanks to Eddie Pope for coming on and blessing us. And until then, the coach is real. Posts everywhere. Remember, y'all, not everybody's on the same team as you. So, stay alert, stay alive. We will see y'all soon, and we out.
FTC UTD.